Awesome. And we are live. Hi, everyone. Thank you very much for joining, whether you're watching live, whether you're watching after the event. I've got the amazing Mary Rezek, who is joining me. Thank you so much, by the way, because it's early for you, all the way from Napa, California. Thank you so much. Thanks everyone for watching. Mary's a brilliant exec coach, and we got connected by our common friend, Stacey, who we need to mention in case she's watching. So I know it's been really great. We've had many good conversations, and we're going to speak about what happens when you mess up, or that one of those, just one of those moments. Like so many people have them. Like feeling in your stomach when you're nervous, things don't go well, you're scared. But there's the good news, I think, is there are things and strategies that you can use to put yourself in a good spot. So clear ones. How can someone project confidence and competence when they're scared?
All right. So Lewis, what I want to do is I want to ask you one question before we dive into the what. Have you ever been shit scared? Because I'm going to use the S around the S word. Have you?
When I knew I was going to do this with you, I was like, oh my God, I think this is going to be grilling. So about 10 minutes ago, I was like really scared. Yeah.
What happened? Was it a spider?
I was like, I'm on camera. I'm going to be asked personal questions, and you get scared. So.
All right. So here's a moment. So your question was around competence and confidence when in that moment. So I don't want to move into recommendations or solutions. What I want to talk about is around what actually happens. All right. So what happens is people generally start to ramble, they start tangenting, they get off topic, they do a data dump, which means, let me tell you everything that I possibly can tell you so that you actually don't ask me questions. Or it could be, I'm going to tell you everything that I can quite possibly know so that I don't get hammered. Or it could be that I'm oversharing to be helpful, or I'm generalizing. And it could be that I'm getting really small, because what happens is when you get scared, you shrink because you want to become invisible. So I don't know about you, but those have happened for me. And I lose my words, I lose my train of thought, I overfunction. I feel like there's a giant alien in my stomach, and I want to wear my pants.
Yeah, no, you're right. Same for me. There's many. If I'm going to see a new client, or if I'm speaking to someone that's like really important and I don't want to mess up.
Yeah.
Even when I'm doing these live shows, I pace around for like a good 20 minutes before I do them. I'm thinking like, what am I going to say? What questions do I need to ask? And it always goes through, but you just can't help it. Like it happens for me.
Well, so that's your processing. So that's your prep. So what I'm hearing you say is that when you pace around, you're actually processing internally so that when you go live, that you actually have it top of mind.
Yeah, I don't know. It gives you, it like burns off this like nerve. They always have this nervous energy, and it just helps me like just to move. And then I always think about what I'm going to say in my head.
Yep.
But then when I actually go and do it, it's not as bad as I thought it would be.
Well, and isn't that interesting, because that's part of your process, right? So overcoming that hump of I'm going to screw up, or that I'm not good enough, or somebody's going to notice something that I'm not capable or able. Well, you actually have done this before, so you're borrowing from transferable skills and experience. So you can rely on that.
Yeah. And that's normal, right? I mean, everyone goes through that.
Yeah, I mean, who hasn't? And so what? So what that you become nervous or shit scared? Because everybody does. I mean, think about it when you were back in elementary school and somebody didn't pick you for the football or soccer team or kickball or volleyball. You get nervous. And it's the same thing. It carries through as we become adults. It's just there are higher stakes.
But what can you do about it, though? Because it's so easy for us to say, like, just suck it up and crack on. But
well, one is to suck it up, right? I mean that is definitely one of the choices. But it's actually recognizing the triggers. What a trigger is inside is around your ability to self-manage. It's what gets in your way. It's the idea of self-doubt. I'm not smart enough. I'm not good enough. I'm not talented enough. They're going to notice that I don't know my information. I don't have all of the facts. I'm unprepared. I'm not attractive enough. I'm not skinny enough. My mother has told me, or my father has told me X. So there's all these enoughs or lack of. And so being able to recognize that they're going to show up first. And what I recommend to my clients is fire those voices, right? Voices sit back here and fire them. Say, okay, you know what? You're fired right now for an hour. You go over there. That's the first. I don't know if anybody has ever fired their mother before, but sometimes I have. Mom, you gotta go away right now. So one is recognizing your triggers. When you get caught, when you realize that you don't know what you're supposed to know, or you're feeling that sense of anxiety and dread, always take that pause. The pause meaning catch your breath, ground yourself. I have a pen. It's a Mr. Sketch pen that I hold to ground myself, even right now. So you're going to notice that I have this pen.
I've got my headphone case.
So have something that gives you this sense of security. It doesn't matter in presentations or in a one-on-one meeting, even in an interview. And always go to facts. Facts win. Facts around 3 things that you know to be true. Oftentimes when somebody is rambling or they're tangenting or downloading from the top and not actually asking the question or answering the question, people get lost, they tune out. Yeah. And you notice it. Eyes glaze over, people start doing their computer, they're doing this on their phone. It's as if what you're saying is not important. And I don't know about you, but when I see that, I'm like, oh my God, am I interesting? Am I saying, you know, what's going on? And that cycle of I'm not good enough, and therefore I'm going to get fired. So go all the way down. I'm going to get fired. I'm not going to get promoted. And I'm not going to be able to provide for my family. And I'm going to live in a bus. I don't know what that means for you, but there's this cycle that goes down. So back to your question is facts. And if you don't have the facts, say, I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. Just like that. And don't justify why you don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's also quite interesting because a lot of the time, you know, you hear this thing of like under promise and over deliver. You know, you hear it all the time. And then it always, for me, it always stops people doing things because what's wrong with over promising and worrying about how to deliver later? But you know, like just to the nervous thing is that if you're going to, say, a job interview or a pitch or what you know, whatever it is, you always feel like someone might know a little bit more. They might ask you something that's difficult. What happens if you get caught out?
Yeah.
What happens if you can't answer the question? So you're right. It's fine to say I don't know. It's fine to have these little get outs almost, isn't it?
Well, there's many different techniques around the get outs, but you know, when people get hammered in a presentation, or they're being interrupted, or they're having multiple, you know, it's like the machine gun of multiple people coming at you with questions and challenges. What is very important for individuals is to realize that there is always one ally in the room, or on WebEx or Zoom. There's always one.
Yeah.
There's and that person either knows you personally, or they know you professionally. And they also know your work. So when that happens is go to your ally. And when you are being hammered, use the person's name, because it's like, hey, Lewis. What happens is all attention goes to whether it's you or the room, and they focus on somebody else. Yes. And it reflects, and that buys you time. The other is, remember that crisp and concise language. Active language, I will, I know, I can, I cannot, I as a differentiator, get to the point, answer the question.
Yes, yes. It's also different now as well because so much of it is on video.
Oh.
So like everything's on. So it's interesting what I'm hearing you say is like prepare yourself, whether it's, you know, have something to hold that, you know, grounds you a little bit, your background, like whatever you're wearing, things like that. And then think about what you want to say in the questions, and then target an ally, have an ally.
Absolutely. And look, I don't know about you, but for me, I sometimes ramble.
Yeah.
I mean, and I get really excited about a topic and I go, ooh, ooh, ooh. And then I realize that I'm rambling. It's being able to catch yourself and have an ally in the room to say, hey, they give you a little bit of a signal.
Yeah, it's true. Do you know what interesting one here is I had there's a few people actually that have told me this, and I did a poll on LinkedIn about it. A couple of people I spoke to, they went in for an interview, like unemployed as well, like needed a job, prepared whole thing, got in, interviewer, the first thing they said was stand up.
Like with clothing?
Stand up. They wanted to see what they were wearing underneath. I mean, I was like, wow, I mean, what a crazy thing. I mean, this interviewer probably, I don't know, wanted to get across their power or disrupt them. I don't know. I mean, one of the worst things you could possibly say to someone. So if you are interviewing, never say that to someone. But I just felt like I put myself in these candidates' perspectives. They were nervous, they wanted the job, and then suddenly just, completely disrupted. And they were like, so crazy, right? And so one of those.
But what you can do is you can actually have some fun with it. I mean, I show up as yourself. So today, put on a bra. Today's a good day for me. Have some fun. Be like, this is what I'm wearing today. I put on lipstick. If they ask you to stand up or they ask a red herring question, be yourself in it and don't stutter. Just, that's an interesting question. Name it and claim it.
Yeah, so true. So true. What is it about being, for me anyway, when I'm scared, for me, it's like I have to be scared to do my best, I think.
How come?
I feel like for me, if I've got some nerves or I'm a little bit of anxiety before I come on things like that, I just feel my energy levels are higher. Like I want to do well. I want to be high energy. People are watching me. and I just feel like I'm better when I've got a little bit of like nervousness.
So it's a catalyst for you.
It is a catalyst. Yeah. Yeah.
And so that's part of your process to have your creative juices juicing.
Yeah.
What I notice when I'm working with my clients is they don't use that, or they avoid that anxiety cycle. And the reason why is because there's this, again, the trigger of I'm going to screw up. When actually, like I was working with one client and he's like, oh my God, and he would spin and spin and spin and spin, but that was his way of getting and architecting and structuring the presentation or when he's meeting a client. And because he didn't avoid it and he made friends with it, sort of like what you're doing, it became something that is that he relished because he knew that it was going to work for him. And he still does it to this day.
Yeah. So that's great. Did you find that most people are nervous, right? Let's be honest. I mean, you could be like the CEO of the biggest company on the planet and you could still be nervous going into a board meeting or meeting a customer. So I think it's also just good to appreciate that everyone probably feels the same, even if they're not projecting it. But what you're saying is it's useful to kind of just own that feeling almost.
Yeah. Make friends with it. Know that it's going to happen. Recognize that you may want to feel like you're wetting your pants. Maybe it could feel like you have an alien about to jump out of your stomach with large tentacles and teeth. It could be that that you pace around like an expectant father. I don't know, but use it as a way to get your thoughts in order. Now, when it comes to standing up and doing what you need to do, one of the things about WebEx, one of the things about Zoom and so on is you have your notes in front of you. That's an advantage so that you still have information in front of you that can get you grounded.
Yes, that's so true. What happens when you do mess up?
Oh boy.
Like the dreaded thing happens. You're like, all that stuff. You're like,
examples. Oh gosh. Okay. There are many different techniques. But I'm going to do the top 5 or 6. One is to remember that it is not about you. It is about them. It is about the information that you need to relay. It is about you being in control, not it controlling you. Period. Right?
What do you mean exactly? So the moment that you get this, oh no,
I'm about to
mess up,
screw up. I
can't
just
think
have.
about, yeah,
All right, go back into that anxiety cycle and realize I have prepared, I am competent, I know my stuff. Go back into facts, and that it is about how do I relay and relate my information to the audience so that they can hear me, one-on-one or to many. It's the engagement.
yeah. Okay. Easier said than done, though. I mean,
yeah. So let me share with you some of my tips from the top.
yeah.
All right. So one is to pause, and the pause because it buys you some time, and you feign interest. Wow. Okay. I haven't thought about that. And I have my hip. Create the posture of, wow, that is the most interesting thing that I have ever heard. Buy yourself some time. It could be that you say some words doing this, like, tell me more. Or, look, I'm really interested in what you're saying, but I'm not sure that I'm clear yet. It could be, let me summarize what I've just said, or my main point is, and take up space. Like literally, if you're starting to get really small and like you don't want to be visible, literally put out your elbows, put your hands on your hips. If you're sitting in a chair, take up wider space and like open up your neck so that this is visible to others, right? Plus, like, okay, so pretend like there's a string and there you go, shoulders out.
There we go.
Arms out a little bit. There you go. Perfect. Exactly. But posture counts. The way that you look at people in the eye, it counts. When you're sharing feedback that might be constructive, you don't smile. Hi, today you're going to get fired. So there is a little bit of congruency, but look, the most important reality is get to the point, be crisp, and let them ask you questions. Ground yourself.
Yeah, that's true. I also find for me, it's always like setting the scenario. It's nice, like this kind of first impression stuff. As you mentioned at the beginning, that focusing on someone. And I always find if the scenario you're in is relaxed and you can make it a little bit more relaxed, right? Then you're more comfortable. You're less likely to forget things, and then because if you do, you get that feeling that it just, I don't know, and it just goes down, and suddenly you're like, you just know that you've messed up. And but if it's with friends, like if you've made this like kind of friendly atmosphere, like friends don't want you to mess up.
No, they don't.
Like everyone's on your side, right? Like,
well, yes, they are, and they'll be very delighted to give you feedback around likely what you didn't do so well and what to do differently next time. But I want to go back to an earlier point that you said is, I forgot to say something. They don't know.
It's true.
They don't know. So I forgot that main point. You can always loop back and put it in and weave it in, but they don't know.
That's true. That's true. The other thing I find, and I know this is maybe, I don't know, not everyone's comfortable with this, but if it's a presentation or something, like people like to prepare, right? Like even for this, right? I like to have an idea of where the flow of the conversation's going. But if I'm too over prepared and I'm like kind of reading, the minute you miss something or mess up and you lose your spot,
yes,
it's really difficult to then like get back. So I find for me, it's, if it's something like this, or if it's even if it's a conversation with your boss about feedback or pay rise or whatever it might be, you have the idea of the topics you want to speak about, and then you let it flow. And I find for me that works.
Well, so Louis, what you're saying is that's the way that it works for you. So conversational, informal, and you probably have some points that you weave in. For others, they're going to have a different way of not only preparing, but the way that they say it could be more formal. I was just working with a client earlier this week who is about to have a conversation about an opportunity around having more of an expanded role, taking on more responsibility. And he was really nervous because he had 16 facts to prove that he was ready and able. I'm like, look, the guy it doesnn't matter what the SVP wants. He wants to know, what is it that you want? One thing, keep it to one. And why do you think you're ready? That's it. and then have an exploratory conversation. That's it.
Yeah.
And so the informality that I'm hearing that you use creates that conversation and that relatedness. Some people don't want that.
True. That's true. So it's true. We'll do what works for you.
Well, it's that authenticity. I'm being me, you're being you, and if you try to put on the hat or the body glove of somebody else, it's a massive fail, because again, you're sidetracked about what you're supposed to do rather than leveraging your energy from you.
Yeah, I love that. That's so true, because you so often people try to be what they think people expect you to be.
Yes, and epic fails every single time.
Yeah, that's so true. It does take a little bit of, like, say, confidence, but it takes some courage to do you, doesn't it? A lot of the time.
Well, tell me more about what your rationale is around why it takes a little bit of confidence about being you.
Because so often, you know, like if you look at the way you're supposed to behave, the way you're supposed to, right? Like society has a lot of these, like, rules, said or not, that you should do. Like, you should think about, like, being an entrepreneur. You know, when I set up my business, so much of the time the questions are, how many people do you have? When do you want to sell? You know, so there's the assumption that an entrepreneur needs to want to sell their business, and you have all of these tech startups that's the model, and you kind of, like, it gets in your head.
Yes.
If you're going to a business meeting, there's certain ways that you either have been taught to behave, or you have an assumption about how a meeting should go.
Yes.
You should wear something there. And to start with, early on in my career, you know, you know, they say, like, be yourself and stuff, right? But then also they say you've got to, like, get along with people to get along.
Yes.
You know, like, you have to kind of, like, fit in to start with, and then you can then start being yourself. That's the kind of stuff you hear a lot of the time. You know, go and dress appropriately for a bank, or go and jeans and t-shirts for a tech firm, and so much of the time you're trying to fit in.
Well, I really like this idea, in quotes, of fit in. One is, you know, there is a uniform depending on the company. There is a culture within that company. And this, you may believe in this because of the work that you do, but it's also about fit. All right. So I work with a company who thrives on uniqueness and excellence. So individual excellence. So if you're walking in and doing an interview where you're doing the supposed to's and you have a script, you're not going to get the job at all. If you are unprepared to whiteboard ideas, or to jump up and do something a little bit different to demonstrate your expertise, doing it a little bit different, then that differentiation of you compared to others is not going to be noticed. So that, Lewis, the supposed to, I hear that all the time. And my encouragement to the people that I work with is, there is no supposed to or shoulds. You have to own it. Should means somebody else. This is about you and how you want to be remembered. And even if you screw up, that won't be remembered. What will be remembered is, how do you recover?
Yes, that's true.
That
is true.
Great silence right there, Lewis.
What's that?
There was great silence in that moment.
Yeah, because I was pausing for a moment to think about that, because there's still this thing, like, people, and if you talk about the interview scenario, like, you wanna fit in. You also want to be yourself, and then there's so much of a conversation around bring your authentic self to work. You know, it's a real, like, big thing about it.
Right.
And I was speaking to someone the other day, just after the US elections, and it was like, do people really mean bring their authentic self to work, or do they mean bring your authentic self to work as long as you believe what I believe? You know,
Yes.
and so there's a thing of, you want a job. If you're looking for a job, you'd love to join that company, but are you willing to be someone else? Like, are you willing to, you know, so it's just, yeah, it's bespoke. It's finding what works for you, for sure. I think the best advice for me is certainly be yourself. and find the environment where you're able to be yourself?
I want to dive into that with you for just a bit. Again, I don't sit in your shoes, and I'm not the expert in your space, but I do some career coaching. And my belief and what I know for fit is to focus on the company culture first and navigate that as far as fit, because candidates are interviewing the company as much as the company is interviewing them. So with that is, if you are unable to be you, then it's probably not a fit.
Yes. Also, for those hiring managers listening, so much of the time they don't give candidates the space and time to find out the stuff they need to find out to make such a huge decision, right? Moving jobs, you spend more time with your employee, with your co-workers, than you do with a family member.
Yes.
So you need to give people the space and time, and you're right. There's always also, though, that's in an ideal world. If there's an economic driver, like you need to find work, then sometimes you don't get the option to, and we have to appreciate that as well, I think.
Agreed. Can we just dive a little bit deeper on when interviewers or the hiring manager is over talking? 70 to 80%, it's the sell, and then all of a sudden, like, gosh, that was the best interview ever, because there's a lot of nodding and smiling. Wow. So how does the hiring manager actually self-manage what they are doing in order to actually get the information from the candidate? Because the overtalkers, I find that it's really hard to actually insert thoughts when somebody is over talking.
Yeah, but even because also you've got to remember, like, interviewers are nervous too. Yeah. Like it's quite you're trying to attract people to come and work in your team. You want to build like the best team. You want to get the best people. Yeah. I don't know, you want to be trying to attract someone from like Google or Facebook, and like it's tough. Like it's tough to find good people. So they're going in also a bit nervous. Sometimes they hide behind their questions because it's easy to. And a lot of the time, the feedback I get from candidates is, like, how did it go? Like, open-ended question. They're like, oh, great, but I didn't get a chance to ask any questions. There was a lot of they say it's so focused on, of course, they're going to come work here, right? And it's all about why do they fit? Have they got the right technical skills? And they always just forget to just pause and, what questions you have. What would you like to find out? Is there anything else that I can provide? And the best interviewers do that, and people appreciate it, because people do. It's always a bit cheesy, but people do join people.
Yes.
Over companies, I find.
Yes.
And like the feedback I always get from candidates or clients is like, oh, I really felt like it went well. And when you dive into that a bit more, it's that human like contact, and people like people that ask them questions and listen to them.
Shine the spotlight. Make them feel like you're the most important person, and be curious. And a big fan of that is asking the what and how questions. And what I find, Lewis, is that people give away a lot of free information if you just listen. And in that free information, conversation and interest can actually help to progress relationship, relatedness, and connectedness, which is what people want, especially now with COVID and the distance that has been forced upon us globally.
Definitely. Can I pop up a question? I had loads DM'd me the last few days as I popped up our thing, and I think it fits in quite nicely. Oh yeah, I've got my thing as well. It fits in quite nicely with what we're talking about. I get so nervous before I do a presentation or meet a client, as I don't think I'm good enough. What can I do?
Okay, so there's two parts to this question. One is self-management around nervousness, and then what are the tools and techniques? So first of all, you're nervous, so what? All right, it's going to happen. It's like getting up on a stage and realizing that all these eyes are on you. I want you to realize that you're actually having a one-on-one conversation with the room. You're not having a multiple conversation. It's a one-on-one. So remember that you can connect with one or two people, your allies. And when you don't think that you're good enough, always go to facts. What do you know? And do the 1, 2, 3. Here's a reason why, and then summarize. Okay. The other is get to the point and don't overstate what you think that they want to know. Ask them another question to clarify first that you can answer the question. Just answer the question within one sentence and wait and pause and see if they have anything else to contribute. You're going to be nervous. I do some TED Talk speaker coaching, and it is terrifying to get onto that red dot. And there's a lot of practice. You walk in and your knees are shaking, and the one thing that I find, and this is when the speakers are on that red dot, it's know your first 3 sentences. Same thing with the presentation. Have some note cards. Do something that will allow you to remember the first start of what you need to say, and the rest will flow.
Yeah, definitely. So prepare some stuff, know your questions, know what you want to say, and then that gives you the confidence to be able to then go into your presentation.
Well, so I think there's more than just prepare. All right. It's be ready for what I call the red herrings, or the lob into a question that you're like, I don't know. Realize that that's going to happen, and be prepared for that around the ideas that you may not know or your team may not know, and own it. So very important.
Yeah. It's also like, so many people don't do things because they're nervous. It stops you doing stuff. And also, like, people want it to always be perfect, and not everything's always perfect. I think it's, I know it's easy to say, but you got to just dive in. And if you make a mistake, you learn from it. Like, it's about building up these experiences. So that, if something happens and you've already got like 10 presentations under your belt, you know what to do. So
yeah, you draw upon your experience and realize that you've already recovered. You know how to do this. I was working with a client about a month ago, and he's in a new role, and a very senior role, and he's learning how to work across distributed teams and multiple geographies. And the CEO popped on. It's a big company. The CEO popped onto the WebEx call. He's the new guy. And he's also bringing to market a new product, which is a very old, it's a very, very old company that has a particular product. Can't tell you who or what. Let's call him a Sam. And he's like, okay, I have to do something, or I have to be memorable. And when the CEO comes online, everybody gets quiet and waits. And so the CEO said a particular number about one of the budget numbers. And Sam said, no, actually, it's this. So he goes, what? No, it's this. He decided to take that risk and pop in with a number. And so what happened is he became memorable. He was shit scared. Oh my God, I'm a new guy, da, 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 da. But he took that risk, and being, knowing when to take that risk and being able to own it is part of actually being memorable and being called upon and feeling competent.
Yeah. And everyone's human. I mean, you got to remember that.
Really?
Well, maybe some people, but like, everyone's in the same scenario. You never know to look at someone, what they're going through, right? Like, you get some of the most well-presented people, but really they're just as nervous as you are. And so I think it's good to remember that. What do you think about having coffee before you do one of these things? Because you can get a little bit into like the caffeine, and suddenly you're all like, you're like jittery, and you're like trying to be calm, but you're like, oh.
Look, I wake up at 4 a.m. and I have 4 cups of coffee beforehand. It's sort of my ritual. Got up at 3 a.m. today, so I've had 5. I don't have an opinion on coffee. I also don't have an opinion on having a drink before an interview. I know some people that I know are like, oh my God, I need to like slow things down. What I have right now is water, but in order to make it fun, is I have an umbrella for my water, because it makes me remember that I'm trying to do what I do authentically. Point being is, coffee, if that's your ritual, do it. But if you start, jonesing, likely don't want to do that again.
Yeah, that's true.
Question. Well, that's an interesting question. I've never had that before.
Someone asked me the other day, like, because I often get asked, like, how can I? The big thing at the moment is like, how can I prepare for a video interview? Because
Mm.
a lot of people, if they haven't looked for a job over the pandemic, this is completely new to them.
Oh yeah.
They they're used to going into an office, someone taking their coat, being asked for tea or coffee, trying the biscuits, like the whole experience.
Yes.
Now it's, what do I wear? A suit, tie, shirt, but I'm at home. Is that a bit odd?
Mm.
Um, what
Mm.
should I? So, you get all of this stuff, and then people are nervous. They're like, do I have a tea, coffee before? So, this is going through a lot of people's minds at the moment.
Or you have it in the moment. You drink your coffee during the call. Look, one of the things I'm noticing in your background, Lewis, is you actually have a really cool picture, and this is, you don't have one of the Zoom backgrounds to show that you're really cool. To show that you're not in your bedroom, or you don't have kids running in the background. People want to see you. They want to know what's happening with you and how you live, because again, that creates relatedness. Sometimes we might have a sighting of Sally, who might sort of jump up and say hello. She's my cat. I've had chickens accidentally come up and photobomb. I have chickens who photobomb and jump up and say hello in this. And it is what it is. And again, it's about you being memorable, and it shows that you're able to deal with the unknown.
Yeah,
And
it makes you calmer too. It's
yes,
your natural habitat.
yes.
It's and what a great conversation starter. Is that a chicken behind you? Oh, what's, and then, but if you do all of this manicured, you got the background. If someone, because sometimes someone steps in and it's all fuzzy. We actually someone was doing a demo for us for some new tech yesterday, and her kid fell off. I didn't even know her kid was sitting in front of her. Completely fell off the table.
Yeah.
And suddenly you hear this baby, this like 5-year-old crying. But it was cool. Like, we were just, no problem. And she suddenly got much more relaxed. Like, look after your kid. Came back.
Yep.
Like, I think it's, as you said, it's normal now. Like, you don't have to pretend.
Well, and that on that call, it might be that they've had a similar experience, and then you can swap stories. Bam, you're in. And it shows that you're able to do your job, able to manage yourself and manage the audience by saying, okay, so this is happening and let's get back on track.
Yeah.
That's what it's about. How do you get back on track?
Yeah. I want to talk about, we mentioned this the other day, projecting confidence. And you talked, this is great for me. It was like, what's the difference between I have to do something and I want to do something?
So did your mother ever tell you that you have to clean your room?
All the time.
Yeah. And how did that make you feel?
Not great.
Because
I didn't want, because my mum asked me to, so I didn't want to. You get that, like, I don't want to do it if you're telling me to do it.
Did you get the timer?
I probably got sat on the step and gave me a timer, and
I got the timer, and the timer was, I'm going to give you half an hour to clean the room. And what I would do is I would get lost on playing my record player or playing with my dolls, or, oh my goodness, look at that, I have a new pair of shoes, and I get stuck in a corner. And so there's this creative moment. The have to is resistant. Don't tell me what I need to do. It also is a mindset of, if I have to do this, therefore, and it feels like it feels bad. Want to is, I want to because. So Lewis, let's go back to you. Let's go back to cleaning your room, or cleaning your closet, or cleaning up the kitchen, or whatever, cleaning up your desk. You want to because why?
A friend's coming over. I want to impress a new girlfriend that's coming over. Whatever. You got to clean your kitchen, clean your room. If someone tells me to do it and I don't have to, then suddenly the mindset's different.
Absolutely. Don't tell me what to do. So the want to is the reason around what you're going to get personally from it. And there's a sense of satisfaction. So I want to be prepared. Therefore, it's giving permission to that. I want to have a sense of confidence. What do I know about myself versus I have to be confident? Woo, that's a very different feeling internally. And you're looking inside rather than considering the outside impact.
Yeah. So you're you're more confident if you're doing something that you want to do.
Yeah. I mean, I said yes to this event.
Yeah.
I
That's
want
true.
to do this versus have to. I mean, you didn't basically tell me, hey, you have to do this, Mary. Well, it's like, I have to do this presentation. Well, you can switch it to want to, because what do I think? What's in it for me? What's in it for the audience? Why is this good for my career? How am I going to learn to do something new? If my boss is telling me I have to do it, ooh, it's totally a different, it's a different impact mentally. And it's about shifting that back, and also firing your mother or your father or whomever in the background saying you're not going to be able to do well.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, you need to put yourself in these. It could be, to start with, uncomfortable situations, but that's the moment that you grow, and if you own it, it's the
So uncomfortable situations are going to happen daily, right? They just are. I can't tell you, like today I'll probably have about 15. That's okay. Know that they're going to be there, and again, think about how you are showing up. What do I need to do? Do I have to respond? And if I have to, how do I want to?
Yeah. If this last 12 months has taught me anything, it's to be comfortable being uncomfortable. There's so many moments this last 12 months where things just, stuff that isn't normal, that happened, that's changed, that's, and but if you can enjoy it, it might sound a bit odd, but I mean, if you enjoy it and you love those uncomfortable situations, then you really, like, it gets you hard for the, it gets you strong and stuff. It's like,
well, okay, so I work with a lot of different clients, and many of them do not like, they like to be structured. So when things happen that are unstructured or unpredictable or that they can't control, it's almost that they go into spin cycle. So discomfort, nobody wants to be in that. And actually there is movement internally, meaning in your head, around, I don't like this. This doesn't feel good. Oh my God, what do I need to do? How am I gonna react to respond? All of this noise. COVID has given people the ability to have a double filter. You're on your screen, I'm on my screen, and I have a bit of space in order to create more structure. Does that make sense?
Yeah. It's true. I mean, you've got to roll with it a little bit. And
I was over here in Napa, California. I live downtown across the street from a liquor store, a barber, and a bakery. It's fantastic. Nice. But I live downtown. There's always ambulances and fire trucks and people walking on the street. And I live alone. And so I remember in COVID, like looking out the window because we were locked down, going, "Hello, I'm here." And I said to people, "I'm really struggling." And I said that to some of my clients. I'm really struggling right now because I do live alone. These are the things that are happening with me. I have been interviewed for different client work, and we had that conversation, and people want to hear that. This is the new hybrid. This is the new way we're going to be working. The unknown. Talk about what's happening for you, and you'll be surprised how often somebody has another story to share.
You're right. No, it's great advice. Be authentic. Let the facade down. And everyone's going through it, whether they're a CEO or a graduate or whatever. I mean, everyone's going through the same scenario.
Yeah, and for some, they're thriving, which is always a surprise to me. And they're thriving because they're having tea with their wife and lunch with their kids. And when I work with someone, they're walking around a chair and it's, and we're walking and talking and coaching. And I'm like, wow. So I'm like, can I go outside and walk and talk? And we do. And there's new ways of getting work done that would never have happened in the past.
Yeah, it's so true. It's so true. When love a good walk and talk. Even the video is great. I mean, even you and I, if it wasn't for the pandemic, we probably wouldn't have done so many video calls because it just wasn't as normal. Now, I mean, it's just normal to jump on a call. These live shows again have increased considerably, so you're able to share your experiences and stuff with people. So
and it's fun.
It's great fun.
It's fun. And it's energizing, and it's just, you know, you get to do you, I get to do me. And it's fun. And again, I don't have to. I want to make it
Yeah,
fun.
so true. Mary, we've done 45 minutes,
We
which is
have.
great. Yeah, it's flown by.
Oh,
It's flown
yes.
by. So thank you so much.
Brilliant.
We should definitely get on another one as well soon. So
Love
we'll
to.
do that. Thank you everyone for watching. Feel free to subscribe YouTube channel at Bentley Lewis if you're wondering. Feel free to get in touch with Mary as well for amazing exec coaching. And have a great Easter.
Thank you.
See ya. Okay.